Welcome to Crypto Sapiens, a show that hosts lively discussions with innovative Web3 builders to help you learn about decentralized money systems, including Ethereum, Bitcoin, and DeFi. The podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only, and it is not financial advice. Crypto Sapiens is presented in partnership with Bankless DAO, a movement for pioneers seeking freedom from the limitations of the traditional financial system. Bankless DAO will help the world go bankless by creating user-friendly on-ramps for people to discover decentralized financial technologies through education, media, and culture. Hi everyone, I'm your host, Humpty Calderon. Today we are joined by Vinicius Vasconcelos, COO and co-founder at Nftfy, and Lalo with business and product development. We go over the Nftfy platform, discuss fractionalization of NFTs and its potential impact to NFT holders, including investor DAOs. Let's get started. Well, welcome. Why don't we get started with you, Vinicius? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in crypto.
Okay, great. So, hi everyone. Thank you all for being here today. It's a pleasure to speak with you. My name is Vinicius. I'm actually an electrical engineer, but I've been into crypto since the end of 2018. I started as a regular investor trying to crypto, Ethereum, Bitcoin. Then I got to know about NFTs and started to read more about that and try to understand what it was all about. In 2020, I found myself studying a lot about DeFi and all the protocols that were arising at that moment. And the person who introduced DeFi this to me was a longtime friend of mine, Leonardo Carvalho, who is a CEO and co-founder of Nftfy. He is the brain of this project, and he has always been intrigued about NFTs and had been thinking about how someone could divide one non-fungible tokens in fungible fractions, and how they can share the ownership of a single NFT. And I joined the team in May that year, 2020, and I'm dedicating full time for Nftfy since then. Lalo, do you wanna go?
Yes, sure. Hi everyone, I'm Lalo. I'm from Brazil also. I've started in crypto in 2017, gladly before the bull run of that time. And I entered mostly for the money, as I think everyone else did by that time. And in 2018, I saw the market crashing, and I started to study much more about the market because I was already falling in love with it. So I started to study a lot, and in 2019, I co-founded Escola Crypto. That's a business focused in education crypto here in Brazil, where we provide free content on Instagram, YouTube, and also paid courses for the audience. And in 2018, I get to know NFTs, and since then I'm addicted to NFTs. So I kept collecting for all these years and saw this big trend starting this last year in 2020, and I was very glad about it. And Nftfy came and invited us to participate in the project, and today I'm part of the team. I help with the business development and product development. So yeah.
You mentioned two things in terms of making money as a hook to crypto. I think that's interesting insight, right? Because I think, yes, crypto seems very valuable because of its speculative asset. But you then transitioned into, hey, once I was in here and I realized that, hey, it's not always about making money. Sure, there's different markets, bull, bear markets, and all that fun stuff. But there's also real technology that is driving the crypto space. And so that's when you transitioned, right? Your mindset changed and said, instead of just sitting here and being a consumer, right? Just kind of buying tokens or just holding tokens or speculating. What I want to do is I actually want to contribute to the space, right? I want to become a creator, a developer. And so both of you, it seemed, made that transition.
Yes, exactly. I think this space has a lot potential in terms of technology, of disruption, of new ideas, new way of meeting people, making business online. And I decided to, it was a personal goal to get involved in a protocol who could bring different things for the ecosystem, not just stay sitting here speculating, looking at charts and tweeting, shilling my projects, etc. So I could see that crypto was much bigger than that.
You talk about building a protocol that brings, value to crypto, brings new people to crypto. And if anything, 2020, the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021 taught us was NFTs are that thing, right? In terms of, speculation, in terms of DeFi, sure, there's some attraction, but I think that there's a level of like a learning curve for individuals, whether it's learning how to invest or understanding the investment mechanisms, or learning, other mechanisms, a lot of like financial and economic models that are being used in DeFi. There's that learning curve that, while appealing, definitely not accessible to everyone. NFTs, though, whether it's digital art, whether it's music, these are things that, for the most part, are things that are familiar culturally across the world. So when people started issuing and minting these NFTs, different creators came onto the space and started creating some interesting and fun, NFTs. I think that it really captured the imagination of many more people that maybe had heard of crypto, but didn't see kind of any on ramps for themselves. But when NFTs came to be, suddenly they were like, oh, this is something that I understand. This is something that I want to get my hands on because either I'm already doing it in the real world, or I'm seeing this as an opportunity to kind of whether support an artist or whatever the reason. So it's interesting you bring that up. And also, I think interesting because with Nftfy, you're just taking that same, platform, that same product, but you're adding tons more value to it.
Yes, adding to what you said now, if you add the game industry inside the NFTs world, you see that could be a massive on-ramp for new users. I think we are seeing that already with Axie Infinity. A lot of people that were not from crypto are joining the ecosystem through a game. So they're based on NFTs. So I think NFTs are here to stay. People think that NFTs are just art and collectibles, but they can be a lot more. And about Nftfy, yes, I think what we are trying to build here is a platform that can unlock more demand for the NFTs, because today it's not so easy for the regular user to buy an NFT and to know if NFT is valuable or not. So the most valuable ones are not easily affordable for the most of the people. So when you can provide fractions of it, I think you can unlock some demand there, and also help people to diversify more their investments, because you can, instead of buying a speculative meme coin from a dog, you can buy a NFT from a dog that probably will have more value if it's from a well-known artist, So, yeah.
Yeah, and the interesting is that we started building that way before the hype. We started that last year, in the beginning of the year, and we saw that the problem that it could have about expensive NFTs, people having access to that. So we have been in this journey building this project for over a year, trying to solve these problems that the NFT space faces nowadays. So that's awesome.
And a lot of things changes from when we started, right, Vinicius? So all this way we have been trying to collect feedback and trying to find gaps on the NFT market so we can apply our technology to provide solutions.
This has been a wonderful introduction, I think, to the topic of NFTs and to your place in it. Let's talk a little bit about Nftfy. What is Nftfy?
Great. So Nftfy is a decentralized application that fractionalizes non-fungible tokens. Just a brief background of this protocol. Like I was saying, our CEO, Leonardo Carvalho, has always been intrigued about NFTs and had been thinking about how someone could divide one non-fungible token in fungible fractions, how can they share the ownership of a single NFT, and he knew that he needed to find a way to do that in a totally decentralized way, aligned with all the DeFi requirements, such as being decentralized, trustless, permissionless. And the idea started to be developed in March 2020 in the ETH Global Hackathon. And in October 2020, we deployed our smart contract on the Ethereum mainnet, and we haven't stopped working since then. We had the token launch in May, and the platform was launched in June last month. So the fractionalization process has been running perfectly on the Ethereum mainnet since then, since June, and we have some fractionalized NFTs there in our marketplace, so you can buy fractions there. And so basically, we are this platform that provides the fractionalization of non-fungible tokens. We have our smart contracts that divide the NFTs into fractions, and these fractions are all ERC20-compliant tokens. So the user can choose his or her NFT and fractionalize in our platform. So the NFT is staked in our smart contract, and no one has special access to that. So it's totally decentralized. And once the user fractionalizes it, he or she gets fungible fractions that represent this NFT, and it's immediately he receives that in his wallet, and the user is able to do whatever he wants with them. So there is the possibility of making a private offering by selling these fractions in a private way for partners, friends, in a peer-to-peer model, or the user can take these fractions and create a pool on Balancer protocol to provide liquidity to these fractions and allow anyone to buy and sell fractions in the open market. So the user can create his own market of fractions and let them available in the market so anyone can buy and sell fractions of it. And the coolest thing that is that we are totally decentralized, permissionless, trustless. No one needs to worry about the NFT because it is staked in the smart contracts and no one has special access to that.
Well, you just gave us a ton to unpack there. So I'm going to rewind quite a bit and just try to define something that you used several times. What does it mean for the protocol to be decentralized, right? And why is that decentralization important for a protocol like Nftfy?
I think the decentralization on the fractionalization process is essential because everybody that buys fractions knows exactly the ZIT rule. In our marketplace, once you fractionalize, you need to set the buyout price of that piece. So the piece is always on sale, and whoever buys fractions of it knows exactly what will be the sale price, and that's immutable rule on the smart contract. So there's no space for disputes between fraction holders. There's no space for votings and etc. So it's totally decentralized is good because you don't need to trust in any person that can change the rule after you buy something, I'm not sure if I was clear, sorry.
And you don't need to worry if someone is going to steal your piece, because the only way for someone to redeem the NFT from the smart contract is by paying this buyout clause that Lalo explained, which is the maximum amount that someone needs to pay to buy the whole piece, or if this person has 100% of the fractions. So these are the two only ways to take the NFT from the stake, to unstake the NFT in the smart contract, right? And that's awesome because you don't need to worry if someone is going to steal or if you're going to lose your NFT, because it's totally safe.
Yeah. Well, I think what I've followed so far is the ability, and yes, Lalo, to answer your question, I did follow, but I think just decentralization is such a heavy word. But what I followed so far is the value of decentralization, as far as how Nftfy uses the product, is the ability to trustlessly be able to break up these NFTs and then also distribute those to in whatever way that has been defined, whether that is going to the person who's minted it or to individuals who will have these fractions of NFTs within their own wallets.
Yeah, and also anyone can fractionalize one NFT there. You don't need to ask permission, be accepted by the protocol or anything. Even if our front end goes down, you can do the whole process via Etherscan. The smart contract is there. So, and by the way, our front end is also decentralized. So that's cool.
No, and I think that's something that when Vinicius and I talked initially, I found incredibly valuable was that the front end is really just that, it's a front end. But the smart contracts are persistent, right? They work across, Etherscan, or if somebody wanted to create a front end for Nftfy, they certainly could. So that ability to fractionalize or to continue utilizing the product in perpetuity will continue to exist because of those smart contracts, right? And those are decentralized. No one owns those.
Perfect. Yes, perfect. Only if Ethereum goes down, then it will go down with it. But I don't think that will happen anytime soon. So yeah.
Yeah, and another word for this decentralization might be not non-custodial. We don't keep the custody of the NFT. Maybe that helps.
Yeah, that's really important, indeed.
Yeah. So the process, trying to explain more about this decentralization process. So the user gets the fractions immediately in his wallet, without the need of someone doing that for him. So it's totally automatic, non-custodial. The NFT is automatically come to the smart contract stake there, and the user gets his fractions in his wallet. And if someone buys fraction, it is totally in a trustless manner if the fractions are in the open market. So yeah, it's free. And the other thing is that if someone wants to buy the whole piece, this person doesn't need to ask permission for anyone. For example, let's suppose that you fractionalized your NFT, and I bought 10% of that, Lalo bought 10% too, and someone else wants to buy the whole piece. This person doesn't need to ask permission from me to buy the NFT. He just goes to the website and click on buy NFT, and he's going to pay the exit price of that piece. And yeah, that's pretty simple. Paying the exit price and unstaking the NFT from the smart contract. And the amount paid by this buyer will be stored in our smart contracts vault, and I will be able to claim 10% of that amount because I own 10% of the fractions, and Lalo too because he also owns 10% of the fractions. So it's a totally, yeah, that's a very interesting point.
So for creators in the NFT space, it's usually one of the rewards for contributing to the platform is that they own in perpetuity 10% of that revenue, right? Are you saying that similarly these fractions enable owners of these fractions to own a percentage, I guess, of a percentage, or am I understanding that incorrectly?
They have a percentage of the first sale, yes. But when someone buys the NFT for himself, he'll have 100% of the NFT for himself. We don't have yet the royalty system implemented. We have launched our minter a week ago, and we are still working on it to provide this royalty system also for the creators, because we think is very important to have too.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that is one of the one of the many valuable things I think that NFTs are creating for or allowing for creators that are different from many of these centralized platforms on which they may have contributed in the past, where they have these ownership rights and these royalties, if you will, that allow them to monetize that, for a longer period of time than some of these other models that are old and traditional and broken, in my opinion. So that's good to hear. So give me.
But the royalty system today on NFTs is not how can I say multi-platform, because for example, if you mint on no origin and you set up the royalties there, you only get royalties if the piece is sold on no origin, for example. So there isn't yet a way of, from each sale, even peer-to-peer sale, the artist get his revenue by royalties.
You're tapping into an area of my domain. I am not going to dive too deep into it in this conversation because I can geek out on it in terms of identity for creators that is usable cross-chain. This is something that, Ontology, which is the protocol that I work with outside of this event, looking to create that utility and mobility of creator rights across multiple protocols and multiple blockchains. So certainly I'd love to talk about that offline, but not for this call, I think, because we could dive into that rabbit hole and we'll never get out.
Let's schedule that call because we were discussing that yesterday on the product meeting.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'd love to talk to it. I've already hosted several calls on that topic outside of here. In fact, I've brought in other projects like Certo who have done something similar to kind of explore that area a little bit further. So give me a general idea here. We've already talked about fractionalization of NFTs, the way that works. Let's talk about, and I think we maybe touched on it, but let's talk about the value. Like maybe explore this a little bit further. The value that fractionalization brings to a creator, the value that it could bring to a collector, or the value that it could bring to a DAO that has sourced or pooled resources to be able to acquire these really, really expensive, NFTs, similar like the Doge image that was recently acquired by Pleaser DAO.
Yes, I think for the artist, for the creator, it's a new way. I'm not sure if it's the best way or the perfect way, but it's a new way of selling his NFTs because, for example, he can sell 30 to 20% of the piece before it gets even sold on the market. So he can try to monetize before the piece gets sold on the market. I think that's a good use case for them. Also, by fractionalizing the ownership, you bring more people into your art. You can have more people talking about you. You know, I'm the proud owner of 10% of this piece. So in terms of marketing, you can reach more people. That's pretty amazing, in my opinion. You can, for example, fractionalize one NFT and airdrop some fractions for your community. Use it as a tool. Because for me personally, I think that one-of-one NFTs are the way to go for collections. You know, I don't like 10 of 10 NFTs for my collection. So I don't think it's worth for the artist mint more than one piece. You know, I think each piece should be unique. So by fractionalizing it, you can bring more people into it and don't need to mint more of the same piece. That's one point.
And the other topic, the fractionalization can be an interesting aspect for those people who bought expensive pieces in the few months ago, and they can't sell it now by the same price they bought, you know, because there was a huge hype last May, for example, and people might have bought expensive NFTs there, and now they can't sell them for the exact price they bought. So by fractionalizing might be very interesting for them to help monetize these NFTs and selling fractions of it. So
yeah, it's a way of getting some liquidity, and you don't need to sell everything. You know, you can keep, for example, 50% of the NFT for yourself, but you can sell 50% to get some liquidity to buy more NFTs or to invest in other things. So it's a interesting way. We are launching the possibility of fractionalizing a whole collection, for example, 20, 30, 50 NFTs inside a collection. So collectors can put their collections into our smart contract and sell fractions of their entire collection if they want.
Yeah. And so I think there's a question born of what was just mentioned. And really, I want to get a sense of that, and I'll just kind of share it so I don't forget. But I do want to go back to something else that Lalo, you mentioned. So you were talking about now, you know, the purpose or, you know, the space that Nftfy covers in the NFT space. And it sounds like it wants to be the home for everything from the issuance of NFTs to the fractionalization to the community building to the marketplace, you know, for selling and buying these fractions. I think that's something that I want to explore a little bit more, but I do want to go back to something that you mentioned in terms of the collection sizes and what that means both for creators and for collectors. Because something that I've explored in previous conversations and I've gotten different answers, so I'm really curious to hear your point of view. You're talking about what could be more valuable for a creator than would be something like a one-of-one collection. And then instead of creating this huge collection of like 10, 100, whatever that is, whether it's algorithmic or, you know, actually manually created, there's probably more value in creating something that is unique, that is individual, but then fractionalized. And then using that fractionalization as a vehicle for building a community, but also to be able to monetize that and create something else in the future. Can you talk a little bit about that and maybe share a little bit more about why you think that a smaller collection is more valuable and maybe address a little bit about the uniqueness of it?
In terms of these avatar collections, I think maybe it doesn't apply that rule, but for, you know, for different arts of NFTs where people, it's a single image and people mint for example, 10 pieces of the same image, I don't think that's worth it. I think it's much more worth it to mint a single piece and, as you said, fractionalize the ownership of it with more people, because everybody likes scarce things. So if there was 10 Mona Lisa wouldn't be what it is today, So
No, yeah, you took the words off my mouth. I was going to say, in the traditional art space, it isn't reasonable to expect an artist to create these large collections. So in the traditional art space, it is the rarity, it is the scarcity that drives the value. So there's something to be said about the marketability of an NFT in terms of its uniqueness, its rarity. Vinicius, you were going to say something?
No, I was going to say about this scarcity, because one of the main characteristics of the NFTs is being scarce. So, except for the gaming part, but in my opinion, valuable digital art should be scarce, just like a Mona Lisa, and it's not so good to have 10 or 20 pieces that are equal, So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, that makes sense. And, I think that it is an interesting argument in terms of, does it matter what size the collection is in terms of different characters, or does it matter that is a singular character, but then still split up into multiple fractions so that the same or more people could have access to that collection? And then maybe it becomes a question about accessibility too, and on ramps. Is a fraction of an NFT more accessible than creating these collections that are maybe even at the time of issuance inaccessible to most people around the world?
that's interesting.
yes, for sure.
Yeah, I'm not going to
Because
get
when
into
you
the
have
tokenomics of
one,
it, because I think that again is another rabbit hole that's going to keep us here for another hour. But I do want to keep exploring a little bit more in terms of the Nftfy marketplace, because I think we just touched on it. So one thing that I wanted to come back to was, I guess, the positioning of Nftfy into the future. It sounds like there's already these smart contracts that have been built into the protocol that enable it to fractionalize these NFTs and add value to these collectors or creators. There's also a marketplace for selling and buying. You were talking about there's coming up I guess, new smart contracts for issuing these NFTs. Can you talk a little bit about that and what Nftfy wants, how it wants to differentiate itself from other issuance platforms?
yeah, nice. So nowadays in our platform, you can fractionalize your NFT, and once you have fractions, you can sell them in a peer-to-peer model, or you can create a pool balancer and provide liquidity to these fractions. But providing liquidity on balancer and creating pools might not be so easy for regular users. So we are going to implement a fixed price sale to allow users to sell their fractions at a fixed price, so people can fractionalize, set the amount of fractions they want to sell, and a fixed price so they can easily sell them to other people. So it's another way to monetize fractions in the open market, besides having a pool on Balancer or Uniswap. That's one feature that's going to be launched soon, maybe in a few weeks. And the other feature is, like Lalo said, it's the minter that we have released last week, and we got the feedback from a famous digital artist, and we're going to make some improvements on that feature to improve the user experience of it. And
Yeah,
the other,
I think talking about the minter and our differentiation from the market is because, as we were speaking earlier, we want to aim on the royalty system to be as much as multi-platform that it can be, and decentralized also. So we are studying ways of doing that about the royalties. So it's a pain that we found on the artist, because he said, "Oh, if I want to do a artwork with a partner, I want to split the royalties with him, but he must have the profile on the same platform that I do, and all of that is not so easy, etc." So we are trying to implement our royalty system in a totally decentralized way, also by using fractions of the NFTs. So I think that could be about the minter, the main difference that we are trying to achieve. About the rest, I think that our focus will be to provide tools to allow the easily shared ownership of NFTs. So we have a lot of new features in that sense to deploy on the coming months. So I believe it'd be huge, but I can't talk too much about it yet, because it's still a secret. We don't want to lose the idea for other.
And it's better to under-promise and over-deliver than to over-promise and under-deliver at the same time.
But the three main features that's going to be launched in a few weeks are these fixed price sale. That's going to be awesome. The minter that's almost ready, and the bundle tool that was what Lalo said before, to allow people to gather multiple NFTs into one box. And so it's going to be kind of a collection inside one single NFT, so people can fractionalize their entire collection all at once.
Excellent. Well, thank you for giving us kind of a wide angle lens, if you will, for lack of a better word, into what's coming for the future of Nftfy. Yes, please do. Anything we missed, drop it right now.
Yeah, because you mentioned about DAOs, and we haven't talked about it. One of our use cases that we're trying to achieve is to have these DAOs, especially those famous DAOs who collect and invest in NFTs, to fractionalize their pieces using Nftfy. Because nowadays we have these famous DAOs who faces a kind of central point of failure, because they need to share the ownership of their NFTs in a centralized way, and having to use multi-sig wallets to share the ownership among their members. So it would be much easier if they could just fractionalize the NFT using Nftfy and distribute the fractions among their members in a totally decentralized way. So no one would need to worry about a kind of multi-sig wallet, a private key to access that. And that's an idea and use case that we want to achieve. And and also the possibility of 2 or more DAOs sharing the ownership of a single piece using fractions of this NFT. So that's something that could be awesome.
And that's all we have for today. I hope you found this discussion useful to your own crypto journey. To learn more about Nftfy, go to nftfy.org and on Twitter at Nftfyofficial. If you enjoyed this discussion, please give us a follow, like, and a 5-star review wherever you enjoy your podcasts. And stay tuned for our next discussion.